Hello and welcome to Maths with Mr. B. Today we're going to cover some division. It's a topic that generally is not well liked compared to sort of add, subtract and multiply, but it's really not that hard. Firstly, if you've got a decent grasp of your times tables, then this you'll find relatively simple. If you don't, you can still divide though. What I suggest to some of my pupils which struggle with their times tables is if they've got a lot of division to do with the same number, they can just go ahead and write out their times table. So for instance, if they knew they were going to have to divide by 7 quite a bit, it might be a long number or there were several questions that require the same division. At the beginning, just write out your 7 times table, and they can do that by repeated addition or just counting on 7. So 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, etc, etc. Because then when you're actually doing the divide, you're not going to have to do your 7 times table every single time. You do it once at the beginning and then use it for the remainder of the division. If you're really struggling to even count that out, if you have to, do tally marks. 7 of them, 7 of them, and then you can count them up again. So find out the way you can do it and then you'll be absolutely fine. So division. If we start with the basic principles, you have, say, the sum 246 divided by 2. So what you do is you take this first number and you put it inside this thing here. Some people call it a bus stop, a bus shelter. Doesn't really matter what you call it. And then the second number here goes on the outside. Now this is slightly different to addition and subtraction. You're working from left to right, not right to left, but you should, the way you've set this out, you should kind of be able to tell because the 2's on this side and you're going this way. So if you say how many 2's go into 2, you can look up, if you do your 2 times table, 2, 4, 6, 8, and it's basically 1. How many 2's go into 4? 2. How many 2's go into 6? And that's that. So next up, something slightly harder. Say if we've got 351 divided by 3. So again, we set it out the same way. 351 divided by 3. So here we go. 3's into 3 go once. 3's into 5 go once. But 3 3's, once 3 is 3. So if we take that out, we've got 2 that's left over. So the 2 that's left over, we just write by the next number and we read that as a 21. So how many 3's go into 21? And I know that's 7. Covering decimals is relatively easy. So say if we've got that, you'll notice these are the same numbers, but I've got a decimal point in. So what you do is you write it out. You put a decimal above the decimal and then you completely and utterly ignore it. It's exactly the same sum, 117. So decimals, pretty simple. Last thing to cover is when you in effect run out of numbers. Now this is where in primary school they'd have taught you to put a remainder. So if you've got a remainder 2 and you can't deal with it, you put as remainder 2. But that's kind of cheating because you haven't dealt with it. We need to start dealing with that. So say if you've got 86 divided by 4. Oh, excuse me, 86 divided by 4. 84 would be way too easy. 86. So, how many 4's go into 8? Well, that's 2. How many 4's go into 6? Well, that's going to be 1, but we've got this remainder 2. So what we do is we put the 1 down. Now the remainder 2, we don't write R2. All we do is change this. 86 is the same as 86 with some zeros. If you think of pounds and pence, 86 pounds with 0 pence. So now this decimal, because it's down here, we put it up there. The remainder 2 has now got something to attach to. So how many 4's go into 20? Well, that's 5. And we're done. And we could keep going. If we've got remainders, we just keep adding zeros. It doesn't really matter. We can go as far as we like. Now the nice thing about this is explains how you get some fractions. So say if you have to turn a fraction into a decimal, what you do, that means 1 divided by, this line is divide, 8. So again, same principle, 1, 8. Now we know that we're going to be going into a decimal because it's a fraction. So we put a few zeros. The decimal point goes here. 8's into 1, don't go. We haven't dealt with the 1 yet, so the 1 now moves over to here. 8's into 10, go once with a remainder of 2. 8's into 20, go twice with a remainder of 4. 8's into 40, go 5. So an eighth is 0.125. And that is division. Doesn't get harder than that.